Live there, we're live on.
And we're color. How about that? Didn't go black and white.
Whenever you guys want to start, you're ready.
Kick us off.
All right, everybody, welcome back to Body Talk. This is Troy Nasker with the Advanced Spine Joint Wellness Center in Medina. You can check us out, www.ohiopain.com. We're back today with Michael Morris. Michael, welcome back.
It's good to be here again. Show number 3. I'm ready to go.
Ready to go.
And we should say that we're on Facebook Live right now, and we're on YouTube Live, which is a first, right? YouTube
First.
Live is a first, so we're trying it out. This will all be available to look at on the YouTube channels, Facebook. But if you're on YouTube Live and you just happen to stumble across, thanks for watching.
And welcome.
Yeah. Today, I think we've got something very important to talk about that we barely touched on before, but we're really going to get into it today. Gut health.
Gut health, absolutely. Yeah.
Gut health is a really big thing to you because I've heard we've known each other for 2 years now, and I think you brought this up to me when we first talked, and I thought, I have no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah, gut health. And a lot of folks have never even heard that term. And, you know, I talked to a patient this morning, and I said, hey, has anybody talked to you about your gut health? And most people don't even know what that term means or even what it is, but it really is the key to all health.
As far as gut health, what I really want to define is what is that? We talked about inflammation last show, and basically what you're putting in to your mouth and your body is causing that inflammation, which is inflaming your gut or your intestines, right?
Correct.
Can you kind of define what that the link between inflammation and gut health, where that's kind of causing a problem?
Sure. If the gut, and just to kind of define gut, stomach, small intestine, and the beginning part of the small intestine most importantly. But what happens is if that beginning part of the small intestine becomes inflamed and we develop mucus, it's almost, my best analogy here is inside the small intestine we have little little fibers or hairs. They're almost like little jellyfish tentacles kind of sticking out.
In the hair analogy, probably the best way to look at it, because it's what's keeping things passing through, but like
correct.
Instead of falling out a window, it's kind of going down a trail.
Kind of keeps things moving, kind of like hairs in your nose. Just kind of keeps things moving, but it also kind of filters, but also captures things. And what happens with poor gut health is, my best analogy is, it's kind of like you have, air moving in and out of your nose, but what happens when you get a cold? Everything gets plugged up, we get mucus. And poor gut health, what happens is the same thing. So we have these little fingers that are trying to move particles and absorb particles, but we get a mucus buildup from inflammation, and then we can't absorb properly.
And it's basically what you're putting in your body, what you're ingesting, right? So if you're not taking care of your dietary needs, you're going to inflame. You're doing it to yourself.
Correct. Yeah. Most poor gut health just starts with processed foods. And there's a few that, of course, we'll probably highlight today as we talk a little bit more about gut health.
The dietary needs of people, can you kind of break down what what you should be taking in? Because I think what we're seeing a lot, and we talked about this, the documentary Fed Up, if you watch that, the amount of sugars that we're eating,
sure, and
the amount of processed chemicals that's in the food so that it can stay on the shelf longer. And so I can sell it to you at a discount. When you go to Walmart, it's not to pick on a retailer, but when you go, there's miles and miles of colorful boxes, right? And everything looks good, and it's got a great label, but we're not really reading the ingredients, so we don't know what we're ingesting, right?
Right.
So when you're eating that, and I run into more people that are saying, I just don't feel well after I eat. This is the inflammation, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So a lot of folks, even afterwards, they say, I don't feel well, maybe I'm bloated, maybe I have gas. But a lot of folks an hour later will feel hungry again. I don't know if there's anybody out there that's experienced this, but when I had poor gut health, I would eat, and then strangely, I'd eat a big meal, and then strangely, an hour later, I'd feel hungry again.
Okay, but what causes that?
Sure, that's a great question. So what happens is we have poor gut health. I mean, if we just think about this, and it's very simple, is if we have poor gut health and the GI tract is inflamed, our body, we're able to absorb some of the basics. We're able to get calories. We're able to get certain things. But what's beginning to occur is we're losing micronutrients, which are critical. So the GI tract can't absorb some of the small little nutrients that we need. So as we eat, these nutrients bypass and just go out the other end, and our body's not getting them, thus becoming nutritionally deficient. we become nutritionally deficient. You eat and your body goes, okay, I just got something and I'm getting calories, but I didn't get nutrients again, thus I'm going to make it feel hungry again. Does that make sense?
Yes, to put back what it needed in the first place.
Absolutely, and then it doesn't get it again, and it doesn't get it again and again and again. And that's why, gut health, like why did I choose gut health today is, well, I really want to get into weight loss, but we have to kind of pre-frame.
Right.
We really need to pre-frame things and kind of set the stage for why are so many people stuck? They try things, or maybe they starve themselves, which actually just makes things worse.
Now because it's messing up your metabolism instead of dealing with your mouth. I
Sure.
mean, really, what you're putting in your mouth is the key to success in all of this, right?
Absolutely, yeah. And the processed foods, which many of us just didn't realize, processed foods, hey, we had all this population explosion after World War II that had to mass produce food. So if you look at what the ag department did, is they just tried to figure out how do we mass produce food to now feed all these hungry mouths that we have after this huge war and now this population boom. It was processed foods. So it makes sense what they did, but I don't think that anybody looked back to go, maybe this is bad.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, if you look at the population, we talked about this last week, I think it's by 2025, 50% of the population will have diabetes.
Sure.
And it's not necessarily they're lazy or sitting on the couch. They might be more active, but it's what they're eating. It's what they're ingesting.
Absolutely.
So when you're looking at those studies and you're saying, how can that be possible when, at least in the United States, or let's just take Ohio because that's where we live.
Yeah.
If you're looking at it, you're thinking, I have more healthy options than ever. I have more food. I have more choice. But yet we're headed on that path because we really don't know what we're putting in our mouth.
Right.
And I know I keep hammering on what you're putting in your mouth,
Yeah.
but you've seen people lose massive amounts of weight.
Absolutely.
But you've got to kind of reboot their system.
Right.
And teach them first.
And that's exactly, a lot of folks come in, they just are confused. They just don't know what's right, what's wrong, what do I eat, I'm watching calories, I'm watching macronutrients, proteins, carbs, fats, I'm trying these things, but either I lose a little bit of weight and I find it back, or nothing happens at all. So we see that every day. And I go right back to the foundation with most people, which is, let's talk about gut health. And that's a relatively new concept, as I mentioned earlier.
Right.
That's
I had not really heard of it before, but when you sent us some research that Rachel and I were just reading, and she's a competitive athlete, and I'm a person who likes to play softball, so that counts for something. But when I'm looking at this, I'm like, these issues that I'm having or she's having, which are very simple because we're trying to eat clean, you don't realize the amount of things that you're eating that are not clean.
Right. And
that are causing inflammation, or makes it, you don't feel like eating. You have to get something in your body, so you're kind of spacing it out, so you're not getting sick when you eat. But then you're getting sick when you eat. And it all comes from the choices that you're making.
It does.
But for you, if you're trying to educate somebody on what they're actually putting in their body, like, break down what that conversation is. If this is the first time that I'm meeting with you,
yeah, what
does the conversation start with? Because I know you love to say gut health.
Yeah.
They're going to have a blank look. What happens there?
Well, the easiest thing to do is just create a diagram. And what I'll do is I draw pictures. I love pictures. I love diagrams to demonstrate to people, what is it, how right now are you stubbing your toe? Okay, so what is it that is causing, how are you causing the problem? And here's why it's causing the problem. So what I like to do is I'll just simply draw a picture of, here's an esophagus, here's your stomach. Okay, food's got to come down into the stomach, get churned up into big particles, then passed down through the small intestine. But this is where the critical kind of things occur, is small intestine. And I'll draw diagrams through there and just kind of show them the different parts and pieces of what's assisting with digestion. And then getting down to kind of the last most important piece, those little fingers. And another way to describe them is kind of like a long shag carpet.
Right.
Okay? And how their shag carpet's gone to like flattened carpet that doesn't have any shag to it. And they can't absorb particles. And then I'll talk to them about the specific foods that we know are very commonly doing it across the board. But then the other thing that's very unique about us, Michael, is that we also do a lot of food allergy testing. And when people hear food allergy testing, this is something that's new to them. They go, well, I don't have any food allergies. And it's not that like a peanut. Someone has a peanut allergy, they eat it, their throat swells up, big problem. But some people are eating things that we know are healthy. Strawberries, bananas, chicken, lettuce, romaine. We can actually test your body to those things and find out when you eat those things, does it cause inflammation, yes or no? And if it does, we should avoid those things. And some of those things are actually healthy items, and you can get them in a healthy way, even organic, but they're still causing inflammation in you because God built you different than me.
Right.
So we really need to have that conversation first. Here's what the gut looks like. Here's the moving parts. Here's what some of the common problems are, but here's some things that may be more specific to you.
You said something very interesting about organic.
Yeah.
I don't know if you meant it like organic to you as in nature. When I think organic, now I'm so keyed in on the type of food, organic food, processed food.
Yeah.
Okay. When you're looking at organic food, and it's so much more expensive to eat that way.
Right.
But if you make that switch, because you've seen so many people lose weight doing it your way, are they seeing a difference in their overall mood? Because it seems like when people are on these refined sugars and processed foods, they're more sluggish. They're drinking more I mean, Starbucks is going to be busy no matter what time of day. The only time it's not is when they close, right?
Right.
Because everybody's feeling like their check engine lights on, right? So
Yeah.
I got to keep fueling up.
Yeah.
Do you see a big difference on people when they clean up their diet and they get rid of the processed stuff?
Absolutely. Energy goes off the charts. The best analogy I can give you there is when we have a body, and I like to use this word toxic. So I describe a lot of people like maybe there's someone out there with fibromyalgia or maybe thyroid disorders or these kind of things. Most of those people are running around with a toxic body, meaning that not only do they have a buildup of these toxins irritating their GI tract, but they're actually stored in our adipose tissue. So they store in there, and that becomes a big problem as well. And my best analogy to a toxic body is, if you remember cars maybe 60, 70 years ago, before we had fuel injectors, these kind of things, they had the big air cleaner on top, and then right underneath they had the carburetor. Okay, and those cars would run like $1 million if the air cleaner was clean and the carburetor was clean. But what happened when they became dirty? They would spit, sputter, backfire, blow out black smoke, all kinds of things. And that's the way a body that is toxic with all these things will run and feel, if that makes sense.
Right, yes.
Is that a good analogy?
Yes, perfect. Because
Yeah.
I'm picturing now, I get it, because essentially that's what we're doing today, is now cars are they run so hard and so heavy, but you can't work on it yourself.
Right.
You can't diagnose the problem.
Right.
So if I can't diagnose it, I can't fix it. So my car, when it peels out, I've got to go to somebody
Put it
like
on a
you,
computer.
Right. Tell me what's wrong. So essentially, you're the mechanic.
Right.
It's an easy way to say it.
Absolutely.
We're looking for you to go to a mechanic so they can diagnose this.
Yeah, and that's what Body Talk's all about. It's that we're body mechanics, and we can't just, the physicians in our medicine, we've just gotten so focused on a symptom. You come in and maybe you don't feel good after you eat, so we might give you a medicine to try to alleviate that symptom, but that's not fixing the problem. I get heartburn after I eat. That's also a gut health issue. We help folks, and I am a walking testimonial for heartburn. That's how I stumbled across gut health.
I had the same issue where I would have to take Nexium.
Sure.
After every single meal.
Mm-hmm.
And this was, from, let's say, 27 to 33.
Yeah.
40-some years old.
Yeah.
I found out that I had a gluten allergy by going on a blind date.
Okay.
Okay, so somebody said, and it's only funny from the standpoint of, this person gets all the background, like, he won't eat with you because he every time he gets sick after he eats.
Mm-hmm.
She happened to know everything about gluten allergy. I'd never
Ever
thought
heard
of it.
Sure.
So then as I'm going through this, I'm realizing making that change, like, it was worthwhile to go to a restaurant. Now I wanted to go everywhere.
Yeah.
You make that change, my throat wouldn't hurt. I mean, it'd be to the point where I couldn't sleep at night because if I didn't take that Nexium, I couldn't deal with it.
Sure.
But instead of addressing the problem and figuring out a food allergy issue, I thought, well, I'll just keep going through life like this. And that's not the way to go, right?
Right. No, it doesn't fix anything. And Nexium does not fix the problem. And I can guarantee there's 1 million people probably going to hear this out there that are probably taking Nexium or Prilosec or something else, and they still have symptoms.
I want to talk about we're running up against a break, but what I want to talk about and I want you to think about it, is tackling the symptom versus just covering it up. And we kind of touched on it before, but again, when we're talking about these Prilosec and Nexium and all that, you're not addressing the issue. You are just putting a Band-Aid on something that's getting worse, right?
Correct.
Because over time, it's not going to get better, it's going to get worse, so you're going to need more medications, right?
Correct.
So I want you to think about that when we go to break. And when we come back, I know you're going to give us the whole spiel.
Sure.
All right, you're listening to Body Talk. We'll be right back.
All right, you're good. You're a hair under 15,
Okay.
but that's fine.
That's cool.
So how's that working?
Yeah, it looks like it's working.
Yeah?
I see it pinging away there.
How's this going?
We're good.
Let me turn it slightly.
No, you're good. I'm just
Alright.
waving. I want people to see that Troy is here.
So we got to do, what, 11-ish minutes here? Or,
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't really matter.
Where are we at? We're about 15 right now.
15. So are we trying to
we'll go
keep
about
it
11. Trying to
26?
keep it 26, 27.
Okay. And I'll just run a timer and then I'll pop back in.
Yeah.
So whenever you guys want to start, you're ready.
All right, cool. Why don't you bring us back?
Okay. Welcome back to Body Talk, guys. Troy Nafsker with the Advanced Spine Joint Wellness Center. Again, you can check us out at www.ohiopain.com, or you can go to www.thinagainohio.com. All the information that we're talking about today you can find on both those websites. Mike and I have been talking about gut health today, and we're going to talk a little bit about managing symptoms versus actually tackling the problem.
In your opinion, your medical opinion, and just an everyday person that's had these issues before, right? Before you learned about gut health, what is this? What is the thing that people have to do most? Is it changing their overall habit? I mean, is that what the biggest thing to tackle is? Is it I don't know about it and someone has to teach me, or I know about it but it's more convenient just to go to Wendy's or go somewhere else?
Yeah, I think it's. I think that's a great question. But really, what people need to do is change their habits. You know, we can't keep doing the same thing and expect it to change. And for some people, it might be simple changes. Others, it may be more drastic changes. Like if you go on to our Facebook page, if you go over to Advanced Spine Joint and Wellness on Facebook, what you'll see is there's a young lady who was stuck for years at about 480 pounds. No matter what she did, she couldn't lose weight. She's lost 220 pounds. Because we just simply tackled her gut health issue and were able to identify with her what she was doing. Now, for her, there were a lot of problems that we needed to correct. And for some people, it's just a few little issues.
Is the hardest thing in losing weight, is it that gut health? You mentioned this off the air, so this has nothing to do with the show we've done, but where if that system's not running right, it's gonna hold you back. You cannot get rid of that weight. So you're storing, whether it's like a chemical from Splenda or something like that that's lining your stomach, or just food doesn't process right. Is that the biggest, like when you see somebody losing weight, is that the biggest thing that you go, man, we really made a difference because you just tweaked something?
Yeah, you know, there's two parts to it really when you look at gut health. Number one is, you know, is you have to look at what are they doing. And number one is we have to look at what are they eating, and we have to get that gut to heal. And that may take time for some people, and we really, really have to focus, number one, there for weight loss. That's number one, is we got to start cleaning that up. Number two, though, then, depending on how long the problem's been here, how long have they been eating this way, they probably have pretty significant micronutrient deficiencies. And again, this is something that regular doctors do not test, okay? Food allergy is something that most doctors don't test. Micronutrient deficiency testing, okay? My best analogy here is if they have been eating foods that are devoid of any good nutrition for 10 to 20 years, on average, they're going to have 15 to probably 20 true micronutrient deficiencies, meaning nutrients that their body is missing that can affect their neurologic system, their cardiovascular system, many other parts of their bodies that's missing. And like that young lady that I talked about, those are a lot of the things that we had to correct as well, along with the gut health.
Okay, can that be changed if someone's had a 15-year history of just eating garbage, right? And your system is wrecked? Can you heal? Because the body is made to heal, right? To keep you going. I think one of the numbers somebody told me is your body should last you 120 years. Whether it does or not, who knows? But your system is constantly replacing itself and replenishing itself, right?
Yeah.
So if you've done that, you can correct that behavior and your body will revert back, or is it impossible to heal fully from that?
Yeah, almost everybody's body has the capability to heal. And it's really cool if you think about it this way. Studies have shown that smokers, okay, and this kind of is the same for gut health. Smokers who've maybe been smoking for 30 to 40 years, once they stop smoking, after about 10 to 15 years, their lungs actually begin to remodel. And some studies have shown that they have no more of a cancer risk than you or I do. as far as lung cancer. Their lungs do have the ability to remodel and heal, and the same with the gut. Now, again, it doesn't always happen at the same pace for everybody. We're all built differently, but everybody's body does have the ability to heal itself.
I just think it's a fascinating thing because the more I read, I seem to see all the disastrous information because I like to know the worst thing there is.
Sure.
But reading some of the documentation you gave us on gut health, I'm looking at it and it's like the littlest tweaks can make the biggest difference, not just on weight loss, but overall health. I know that one of the things, like I said, at Starbucks, the line is always there.
Yeah.
And it's people that are dragging. But if you look inside the car, they're getting a coffee and maybe a donut or, a cookie or something. So they're spiking for a minute, but they're not really taking care of themselves for the full day. They're not getting all the energy out of themselves that they could.
Sure. One of the other things to talk about too, and this is another show probably 2 down the road, next time I'd like to talk about thyroid issues. Because what we're talking about now, most people don't realize that their thyroid problem, most people with low thyroid or hypothyroidism, the number one place to start with thyroid disorders, right in the gut. And then number 2, we go to micronutrients, which we'll talk about next time. But these things, they seem so complicated, but they're very, very, very simple. But the other thing that we'll talk about as well, I think 3 shows down the road, is the adrenal glands. Mm-hmm. And the adrenal glands are also kind of termed our stress glands. If a lion jumped in this room in front of you guys on live right now, you can see it's not a very big room.
Right. And
Michael and I are going to have to run awful fast to get out of here, and we're going to use the fight or flight system to do that. And that's our adrenal glands. So under acute stress, they're designed to help us, get our heart rate up, get our blood pressure up, dilate, get our eyes open and ready to move really quick. Shoot some steroids and cortisol into our system and move. But what happens is these glands also can become very, very damaged with prolonged stress and sleep, which is going to be 4 shows down.
Right.
Because we have to put all these things together, adrenal health, thyroid health, gut health, and then sleep. We put those, and those are the keys right there. When a lot of folks go, what's the key to this thing? Is there one thing? It's not. And we have to work on all 4. Because if we never work on sleep, a lot of our hormones are manufactured during sleep, and our adrenal glands are going to continue to have to work awful hard if we're not sleeping to keep us awake and functioning during the day, thus the Starbucks line.
Right. Mm-hmm. And it's not to knock it. It's something I've noticed in dealing with, whether it was weight loss, hormone replacement therapy, any of these things that you offer, that mm-hmm. Dr. Buzz in Columbus offers.
Yeah.
He's directly across the street. So when I'm over there looking out his window, that line is wrapped around, and the entire time I'm thinking, the guy I'm with is bouncing off the walls. You're the same way, in a good way.
Right.
And I've never seen any of you drink a cup of coffee.
Right.
And yet across the street, it's like that snake of a line is going, and I thought, there's a reason to this, because you guys have paid so much attention to your gut health and taking care of your body, because you only get one. You have to take care of it.
Right.
What was the switch for you? So you were having like heartburn issues, like personally. You
Yeah.
started learning about this, and then you made a change in your diet?
It's a great question. Yeah, we had talked about, I think during the first show, kind of where my frustrations began to occur with traditional medicine. About the same time, heartburn was my issue. And this was no small issue for me. So, I developed heartburn, and I thought, okay, I'll just take some Tums. Go grab some Tums, and I'll just manage the symptom. I knew nothing about gut health or wellness or anything at that point. So, I take Tums, didn't help. So next step, go get some Zantac, didn't help. Get the Prilosec, didn't help. Go see the family doctor, get on the Nexium, still didn't help. But at the same time, my heartburn was getting so severe. Friday night was kind of pizza night at our house. All I had to do was smell the pepperoni and heartburn. I didn't even get a chance to eat it.
Right.
So I would just smell the pepperoni and heartburn. And then it started to occur at night, and then I knew I was in trouble. So I go back to my family doctor. He sends me to the GI guy, and the GI guy actually wants to scope me. And I looked at him, and I said, okay, if we're going to do a surgical procedure, which does carry risks, everybody just jumps into these scopes light, it does carry risk. What's the ultimate outcome? What do you expect to find? What are you going to do about it? Those are questions I had for him. Unfortunately, I'm informed to be able to ask those things because I am a provider.
Right.
I said, what do you expect to see, and what are you going to do about it? He said, I expect to see your esophagus inflamed, inflammation, and I'll put you on Nexium. And I looked at him and I said, you turkey, I'm already on Nexium, So I was frustrated, and I felt like I was missing something. The whole time I felt like I was missing something. And at that time, I did not believe in chiropractors. thought these guys were like Darth Vader, you know, big black hoods, you know,
Right.
waiting to get you, you know.
Rack and crack.
Right. And I happen to have a cousin who's a chiropractor, and I met with him, and he looked at me really smug, and he says, "Troy, I'll fix your heartburn in about 2 weeks." And of course, I'm years in at this point, and I looked at him, and I'm like, I've got nothing to lose. What should I do? He says, you stop 2 things. You stop 2 things, and 2 things are going to happen. And I said this last time. I stole his words and used this last time. This is where it came from. Stop gluten. Get rid of dairy. You're going to lose weight. You'll never have heartburn again. And he was right and right. So I looked around, and I'm thinking, this fella just fixed this in 2 weeks with no medicine.
And he didn't touch it.
Didn't touch me. Didn't have to. He was going to adjust me too, which made sense. But fixed it with 2 simple things: dairy and gluten. Never had heartburn. Never been on a medicine since.
You know, and I feel like we should lead off and end every show with no dairy and no gluten because, again, it is such a cause of GI distress.
Sure.
That, and I don't think people realize, like, they're looking at it from a dietary reason more so than what your body can actually handle.
Right.
You know, they think if I cut out bread, I'm going to lose. Well, yeah,
Yeah.
you're going to lose weight because your intestines are appreciating that.
Right.
But the dairy part is something else that people just won't give up.
Right.
But if you want an overall health change to occur, those are the 2 things you got to cut out.
Absolutely. Dairy's got to be the first one to go.
You know, somebody's probably listening to this while they're drinking milk, probably thinking, and eating a donut. We're running out of time for this week, so
We
we're
are
going to
indeed.
leave people with a thought here.
Quick thought. You know, gut health. Again, I think that the easiest thing you can do to start your journey on gut health is just go and Google again the 12 foods banned in other countries. And what we're going to do is next time we're going to talk about thyroid issues. And you don't necessarily have to have a thyroid issue. There may be a sluggish thyroid, and we'll talk about that next time. And you can find us on the web, www.ohiopain.com, and we'll look forward to thyroid next time.
All right, cool.
Very good.
Okay. Stop. Let me save this.
Why don't you shut the YouTube now?